Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston born and raised, H-Town Rebel Space Cadet Sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, folks of all stripes, and distinguished guests, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans. From a diehard Houston sports fan, I'm Paul Salazar Jr. I almost forgot my own name. Your favorite diehard Astros fan, podcaster / forgetful guy. I'm an actor, improviser, writer, creative multi-hyphenate, and of course, and most importantly, I'm a proud Houston native. I had a hiccup there. Folks, I promise I did my vocal warm-ups. I'm a proud Houston native, and I have the receipts to prove it. Not only is my broccoli chopped, it's also screwed. Folks, I've spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer in Los Angeles, and now, well, I'm podcasting. That's what happens when you hit 10 years out here. You start absent-mindedly calling it The 10 instead of I-10, and you start podcasting. Welcome to said podcast. Space Cadet Sports started as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a diehard long-term fan of the Houston Astros and other Houston sports teams. Here, we aren't doom and gloom casual fans, or worse, the national media haters and avoiders. We love our teams and root them on, but also try to discuss the ins and outs of them without too much homerism. The key word here, of course, is try. On today's episode, I'm not dead yet. The Texans' season is still alive after a win against Jacksonville and Houston. And the Rockets win some and they lose some. We talk about them losing the first NBA Cup game against San Antonio Spurs and then turning around and beating the Milwaukee Bucks. I'd like to welcome returning listeners and welcome new listeners to what my brothers call the Paul Broad Pod Ball Blog. Hey, brothers. Shout out to my brothers. Shout out to Arrested Development fans. And shout out to people who follow the blog, that's spacecadetsports.substack.com, for the full blog experience, or the full blog experience depending on your interpretation of my mumbles here. We're recording this transmission as always in sunny Los Angeles, where I'm joined by my co-host and co-producer, the Roz to my Frasier. Carla, the dog, is here with me today. As always, I should say too, longtime listeners of the podcast know that she may get on mic from time to time. She's got the hot takes on this podcast. I've got the cool takes. I'm a reactionary podcast, if you will. You're not going to find a lot of hot takes. I'm a fan. I'm a comedian. I'm not going to come out here and pretend that I'm something I'm not. These are opinions. These are jokes. These are chistes, bromas. Come have some fun with me and Carla. Today, we're talking about your Houston Texans winning a football game. Folks, it happened. I picked the Texans to win this week. I had faith in this team, and it worked out for me. I mean, look, full disclosure, shout out to Wookie, Matt Wookman, one of my good friends, also a listener of the podcast. I mean, look, the man supports a lot of what I do. You need friends like Wookie in your life. But, you know, Matt Wookman, he texted me after the podcast. We'll get him on the podcast soon enough so that I don't seem like I'm manufacturing friends. I promise I have them. Look, he texted me after the game. We both admitted that, you know, we after the first couple of scores from Jacksonville, you know, it felt like this wasn't happening. This wasn't going to be our game. Houston Texans fans have been very frustrated this season. There has been all kinds of mobs forming around Nick Caserio, around D'Amico Ryans, around C.J. Stroud. Look, there's been a lot of people who are upset with the results of this Houston Texans team. You know, I think we got really excited about competitive football returning to Houston, Texas, and it's not elite football yet. It is still competitive, and you know, we all want elite teams, but this Texans team, look, I've been a fan forever. Since day one. Look, your boy had a Tony Boselli jersey, okay? That's for those of you who say I'm a casual Houston Texans fan just because I don't have as much love for them as maybe the Astros or the Rockets. Look, I've only been with them since 2003, okay? It's still a work in progress, this relationship. Folks, yeah, I love this Texans team. It's just hard to like completely get behind this organization at times, completely get behind the NFL at times, but I really was almost, I was defending this team against the haters, against the naysayers, if you will. And I picked them to win this game. I thought I thought, I was doing like the reverse jinx in a way. I did have some faith, but then at halftime, I really wasn't thinking it was happening. This fourth quarter, where the Texans scored 26 points, really stunned us all. This offense had been struggling. This offense had been struggling to get moving with C.J. Stroud. Davis Mills is a game manager type, and you just didn't think that they were going to be able to outlast the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that fourth quarter comeback was amazing. I think there's a lot of reason to be happy about this, but there's also reason to be concerned, or not concerned, just waiting to see how the Texans do going forward. In this game, the Texans had 412 yards, 282 passing yards, 130 rushing yards for 27 first downs. I'm trying to figure out their third downs here. They were 10 for 15 on third downs, which, folks, that has not been the way the Houston Texans offense has been this season. Third downs have been miserable for this team. Look, there's still 11 penalties for 80 yards in this game. Still, the penalties haunt the Texans, but at least those third down conversions were working in this game. They were 1 for 2 in fourth down conversions. Time of possession went back and forth. It was kind of split in this game. But the Houston Texans, this was a game that they desperately needed to win. The Texans, are not dead yet. Shout out to my Monty Python fans. Look, if you love sketch comedy, you're going to, put up with me, at least my references. But, I really was worried that this was just going to be the end of the season. We were going to start talking about draft picks or something on this podcast. So it's nice that this roller coaster season continues on, and now we're on an upswing. I have to say I am excited about it. Let's talk about individual performances here real quick. Davis Mills was 27 of 45 on the game with a 60% completion percentage for 292 yards, 2 touchdowns and an interception. It was slow going for Davis Mills, but by the end of it, he was leading this team to a comeback win. At one point last week, I believe Davis Mills said that this is what I'm being paid for, to step up in these situations. And, whether it's Nick Caley's game plan and game calling, the coach's preparation for Davis Mills, whatever they did in this game completely worked. Davis Mills deserves credit, but so does Nick Caley, the offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans, who has really been under the microscope lately. The mob has been forming for him, just like the mob formed for Bobby Slowick. And I think it would be tough for C.J. Stroud to have another offensive coordinator next season. So I'm rooting for Nick Caley just to have some consistency for C.J. Stroud. We want that guy to be good. But it was really good to see Davis Mills in this game. And there's a potential for Davis Mills even starting next week if C.J. Stroud's concussion protocol if he's just not quite ready to be back. I mean, this season has been up and down. If I was a Houston Texans, I would be conservative in bringing him back. I wouldn't rush him back. Maybe that's me. Let me know what you think there, folks. Let's talk about Woody Marks. Woody Marks had 14 attempts in this game, had 63 yards and a touchdown. Davis Mills also had a rushing touchdown in the end of the game there. Folks, Woody Marks, it was good to see Woody Marks have a good game here. Nick Chubb also had 47 yards on 5 attempts, averaging 9.4 on his carries in this game. So Chubb was still in the mix. There was plenty of yards on the ground in this game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you love to see it. You want to see this this team be an offense be able to run the ball, because Nick Caley's preferred way of running this offense is predicated around establishing the run. Now, whether you agree with that or not, whether you think he should be passing more, should be establishing the pass over the run, that I get it. There's been people who have said those criticisms, and based off of how this offense has performed so far, you get it. But it was good to see this offense firing. It was good to see Ariante Ursary, rookie tackle, out there continuing to impress in his rookie season. He may be the cornerstone for this offensive line going forward, but it was good to see him out there. Nico Collins had himself a day. He was 7 receptions for 136 yards. Dalton Schultz has surpassed, I almost said Owen Wilson. Oh my God, apologies to Owen Daniels. Dalton Schultz surpassed Owen Daniels for most receptions in a single season by a tight end in Houston Texans history. Dalton Schultz had a big game with 7 receptions and 53 yards. Dalton Schultz was we weren't sure how we felt about him after last season. This season, he has been a great target for Texans quarterbacks. Jaden Higgins had himself a game with 7 receptions, 42 yards, and a touchdown. Jalen Noel also had a game, 4 receptions, 35 yards. Folks, Christian Kirk only was targeted 3 times, but he did get 1 reception for 3 yards in this game. Danielle Hunter had 3.5 sacks in this game. He has been going off. Henry To'oTo'o had half a sack. Will Anderson Jr. had a sack in this game. And we had a defensive touchdown at the very end of the game that was absolutely incredible. I believe that was Sheldon Rankins. I apologize if I'm misremembering. Right now, I'm struggling to remember. I swear I watched the game. Your boy's just tired. But folks, this was a great game for your Houston Texans. Their next game on Sunday is against the Tennessee Titans. And my goodness, it has not been a great season for the Tennessee Titans. So whether it's Davis Mills or CJ Stroud behind center, a lot of people are feeling good about the Texans' odds in this game. It will be an away game for your Houston Texans, but I am feeling pretty good about it. We'll definitely talk more about it on Paul's Picks episode. But folks, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to talk Houston Rockets basketball right after this.
Houston Astros, Houston Texans, Houston Rockets, Houston Dynamo, Houston everything, Houston, born and raised, H-Town Rebel, Space Cadet Sports.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. I'm your goofball host, Paul Salazar Jr. Let's talk about the Rocks. The Houston Rockets have been on a bit of a run lately. Unfortunately for us fans and unfortunately for the Rockets, they did run into the San Antonio Spurs. I got to watch that game on my television, and it was not very fun. It was 110 to 121 loss for your Houston Rockets in their first NBA Cup game of the season. In the group of death, Group C. Group C is the group of death, if you will. And folks, the San Antonio Spurs looked like a legit team. It reminded me of something. It reminded me of my youth and my complete dislike up to hatred for the San Antonio Spurs. It's an in-state rivalry, the Spurs and the Rockets. Getting to see the Rockets beat the Mavericks in a fairly close game, kind of took me back and made me happy to see that. But this was the exact opposite effect. I was hoping that the Rockets would be able to put on a showcase against the San Antonio Spurs, and it just was not their night. It was a tough one, I think let's kind of look at the stats here. They really didn't seem like they're in control of the game. They definitely were not in control of the boards. There was a lot of rebounding on the defensive side that was tough for the Rockets. They are an outstanding offensive rebounding team, but this season so far there has been some mixed results for defensive rebounding. They are running a lot of zone. A lot of fans will point out, and they will say that is primarily to cover for Reed Shepherd, if you will. But the Rockets, even last season, like to run zone at times. When you're zoned out like that, sometimes it can be more difficult to rebound. I say that as someone who probably could never get a rebound in the NBA in his life. But, at the end of the day, those rebounds, giving the Spurs extra opportunities, bit them. In the game, the high scorer was Alperen Şengün, who had 25 points. He was 10 of 22 from the field and 1 of 6 from three-point land. Kevin Durant had 24 points in that game. He was 8 of 18 and 1 of 2 from three-point, 7 of 7 of free throws in that game. Reed Shepherd had a tough game, but he also had 16 points off the bench. He was 4 of 7 from 3, plus 8 in the plus minus. It just was a tough game all around. I don't even want to talk about it too much because there's another game to talk about, honestly. So let's talk about the win last night on Sunday night. There was another comeback game for Houston fans after watching the fantastic comeback of the Houston Texans beating the Jacksonville Jaguars in me believing that they could potentially score a touchdown and the offense just exploding, the defense tacking one on for good measure was great to see. But the Milwaukee Bucks and the Houston Rockets played a little Euro Cup rematch, if you will, for those of you who watch Greece and Turkey. The Rockets won this game 122-115 against the Bucks. The Rockets have improved to 6-3 on the season. It was a great fourth quarter comeback from the Houston Rockets and led by Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant in this game had 31 points. He was 11-15 from the field, 2 of 2 from three-point, and 7 of 9 from the free throw line. Alperen Şengün had a good game as well, scoring 23 points, 10 of 15 from field, and 1 of 1 of three-point, 2 of 3 from free throw. And he also had an amazing, ridiculous, NBA Jam style play against Giannis Antetokounmpo, where he just kind of dribbled around, he even put a little stop sign, palm hand up for a bit, just completely shook the Greek freak off of him, and then took another guy in the post and scored a point. It was good to see that. Reed Shepherd had himself a game, so much so that Kevin Durant even shouted Reed out after the game. Reed played 29 minutes, had 16 points, 6 of 10 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3 points, had 2 assists and 4 steals, 1 block in this game, and just 2 turnovers to mention as well. There have been some turnovers in lately that people have complained about, primarily from Kevin Durant. But, seeing Reed Shepherd out there, he's been a divisive figure for Rockets fans this season. Reed, he's out there for his offense. The Rockets desperately need a point guard. They desperately need offense. They need a play creator. They need pick and roll ball handler, I should say. And Reed Shepherd, with Fred VanVleet not active on the roster, Reed Shepherd is that guy. He has been pointed out and singled out, not just by other teams on defense, but by Rockets fans, for just the fact that they have to run the zone so much when Reed is out there to kind of protect him. And the Rockets coaching staff and front office, of course, aren't going to say this because that's kind of a terrible thing to say when you're trying to develop a young point guard. Developing, a lot of people are clamoring for Aaron Holiday in those Reed Shepherd minutes, and I'll just say calmate, my trademark calmate. And for those of you who don't speak Spanish, I'll translate that for you. I'm just saying calm down, my clown. The Rockets season is still fairly new. They only have 3 losses, and they're trying to develop Reed Shepherd into the point guard of the future for this team. They need the offense, they need the play creating, and they need him to play these minutes to get better. So they don't want to throw him under the bus and be like, well, the losses are his fault. And I think it's a big vet move by Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant obviously reads the comments. Kevin Durant listens to things. If you're talking about Kevin Durant, he's going to hear you, right? He's that guy. And I get it. I mean, look, when I read the comments of podcasts, I read the comments of internet videos I post up, I get it, But at the end of the day, I'm just saying, he hears the criticism that anybody has for him. So he's probably hearing all of the crazy criticism of Reed Sheppard, and I think he went out of his way in the post-game interview to shout out Reed Sheppard and his offensive abilities and his defensive abilities in this game, getting 4 steals, turning the defense into offense at times. I just thought that's a telling move. Kevin Durant wants to be on this team, and he wants Reed Sheppard to develop. He is there for him, and I thought that was really good to watch. It was really good to see Kevin Durant take his little brother under his wing and kind of protect him a bit in the media. And I understand. Rockets fans want this team to compete. This type of a team, this caliber of a team, with Kevin Durant on it, has Western Conference Finals or bust written all over it. I understand the expectations. I'm just saying that this team also wants to develop for its future. They traded away Dylan Green. There's no Fred VanVleet. Aaron Holiday is a great kind of 3-and-D guard, if you will. I don't think he's necessarily seen as a playmaker or pick-and-roll handler, but also I don't know Aaron Holiday that well. I mean, I'm not trying to talk trash on Aaron Holiday. He would school me in both basketball and probably podcasting, But at the end of the day, that's how the team sees him. That's how they analyze those players. So they're trying to develop Reed Sheppard for the future while also hopefully not having it damage the team in the time when they're developing Reed. I think they have enough length. They have enough defenders on this team to help Reed out. I just think, he's going to need to have great offensive games so that his liability on the defensive end is more than covered by his offensive prowess and what he brings to the team. And, it's funny, a lot of people are just ready for Reed to be done and just keep him on the end of the bench. But, I see flashes. We've seen Reed pop off. We've seen him have amazing games. If he can kind of develop into a Steph Curry light, just a guy that's out there just really creating, really dribbling around, getting the pick and roll started, not being able to knock down the open three, just being a spark plug for the offense, I can see that there can be a couple of defensive plays where he's singled out and it's still not the end of the world. And I think the last couple of games where we see what Reed can bring off the bench. And it is exciting. I do think that if he has enough runway here to develop, he can be great for this Rockets team. And, it's hard. I think, it does bring me back to the Matt Maloney and Bryce Drew days for you old Rockets fans like me. I do think that there's times where just if there's like a superstar team and they're developing a player, or kind of have a liability out there as seen by the mass public, a lot of regular fans will just blame everything on that one player, just not understand why he's out there. So we're stands of Reed of the tax man on this podcast, folks. We're wishing him the best. We want this team to have some runway to develop their young players still, even though we are competing for the top spots in the Western Conference. We want them to be able to do both. Just the same way, I'd say for the Astros, that the Astros wanted to have such a strong lineup that they could cover rookies like Cam Smith in there. Now, this last season, you saw what happened. The lineup was not strong enough to cover a lot. The offense just wasn't there. So I do have a good feeling, though, for this Rockets defense is there. The defensive effort is there. I think that they can cover for Reed. It's just if Reed can figure out how he fits into that defense and kind of just keep improving in his role on the defensive side of the ball. Going forward, obviously, the Rockets will have another game on Wednesday. That's going to be at home against the Washington. Sorry, my brother is calling me. I was got distracted there. I'll call you back, bro. Sorry about that. But yeah, they're playing Washington on Wednesday and Portland on Friday at home. So we'll definitely let you know how those games go. But your Rockets, your Rockets are looking good, and it looks like They are improving. This team can be really fantastic, I think, if they can stay healthy. So we're rooting for health for these Houston Rockets. And for the Texans, we're rooting for health as well. Obviously, with the Tennessee Titans game coming up, it's a divisional game, so it's super important, not just to get that win against a rival because we don't like the Titans, but because we want to increase our standings in the division if there's any kind of chance for the playoffs for this team. I think the Texans need to not play down to the talent of the Titans, or just, hopefully, they're coming into this game with their hair on fire. Their defense has been incredible this season. This Houston Texans defense and special teams have been great, have been really good. And we were just waiting for this offense to wake up. We were waiting for this offense to play play with consistency on the offensive line. We're waiting for them to actually establish the run. And, we've been able to see them now have some good results against a team at like the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. I really think that this is something that this team can build on to continue to hopefully keep this season alive. Keep my hopes alive, Houston Texans. We're not dead yet, right? Right, Monty Python's fans? And before we wrap up, folks, I just wanted to mention that U of H, whose house? The University of Houston Cougars leapfrog Purdue in AP's top 25. So, we're looking at the Cougars. Obviously after last season, we're hoping that the Cougs can get back into the Final Four and maybe even get to that final dance yet again. We're rooting for Kelvin Sampson and the University of Houston Cougars basketball team. They're 2-0 right now. The season is still early, but it would be nice. It would be nice to catch March Madness yet again. I mean, it was a blast rooting on those Houston Cougars last season. Me and Sarah had a great, and Carla, we all had a great time rooting on those Cougs. So we're rooting them on yet again this season. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Please like, rate, review, subscribe, share, bop it, kick it, skip it, smash all of those buttons for me. We're a small podcast and only go as far as our listenership takes us. So please help us out. We're supported by listeners like you. Share us with the Houston fan or Australian in your life, and give us a 5-star rating wherever you are listening to this podcast on. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of the Houston Texans going forward this season. Do you still have hope? I mean, look, we pulled out the panic meter. We said on the last week's podcast, the official Space Cadet Sports Houston Texans panic meter is out. Making sure we say our prayers is the way. It's still low, but how are you feeling about the Houston Texans? Let us know on social media at Space Cadet Sports, or you can call in. Let us know at speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports what your take is, or comment on the Substack. That's right. We want to build a community there. We want you to check that out. Be a subscriber to the Substack at spacecadetsports.substack.com. I don't like to put a lot behind a paywall, so becoming a subscriber just means you get the emails. You get all of this emailed to you directly. And if you would like to be a premium subscriber like Joe, who re-upped on his annual subscription recently, you can do that, and that's just a way to help support the podcast, help support me, help support Carla getting treats, and us getting equipment, and subscriptions, paying for me to try to catch as many of these games as possible. I watch all of the games, if not live on delay or later on. Folks, if you want to help support but you don't want to do the Substack, you can get some merch. That's right, I have Don't Sleep on Houston t-shirts. I have Carla the dog hats and H-Town Blue. Check that out on the website, paulsalazarjr.net, because I'm nothing but net. I believe it's paulsalazarjr.net/store. Or you can go ahead and check that out, where you can get some merch to support the podcast. And if you made it this far, you must like me on some kind of weird level. So you can find me making jokes, memes, art, podcasts, and so much more at Paul Salazar JR on social media on all platforms. Or once again, that's paulsalazarjr.net, where you can find my other Substack, my other podcast, and all my other nonsense if you're nasty. Thanks so much for listening. Remember to be the best that you can be. Keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos, vamos Houston.